Rare earth elements. These 17 chemical elements that most people have never heard of, yet they control the fate of every smartphone, electric car, wind turbine, and military weapon system on Earth. China produces over 80% of the world's rare earth metals from their massive Bayan Obo mine in Inner Mongolia, and in 2025, they proved exactly what happens when they decide to turn off the tap. On October 9th, 2025, China's Ministry of Commerce announced the most comprehensive export controls on rare earth elements the world had ever seen. Within weeks, prices exploded. Neodymium praseodymium oxide surged 127% from $56,000 per metric ton to $127,000. Dysprosium oxide jumped 89% to over $500,000 per ton. European automakers were forced to halt production lines. The global economy got a stark reminder of just how vulnerable it had become. But this story didn't start in 2025. It began decades ago with a calculated strategy that would give China unprecedented control over the foundation of modern technology. The rare earth elements aren't actually rare. Despite their name, these 17 metals, including neodymium, dysprosium, samarium, and terbium, can be found scattered across the globe. What makes them precious are their unique magnetic and electrical properties that make modern electronics possible. Your iPhone contains at least 8 different rare earths. Electric vehicle motors require powerful NdFeB magnets, neodymium iron boron magnets that depend on neodymium and dysprosium for their strength. Wind turbines need hundreds of kilograms of rare earths to generate electricity efficiently. Military systems demand even more. An F-35 fighter jet requires 418 kilograms of rare earth elements. A Virginia-class submarine demands a staggering 4,600 kilograms. China understood this dependency long before the rest of the world caught on. In 1992, during his famous southern tour through southern China and Inner Mongolia's mining regions, Deng Xiaoping made a statement that would prove prophetic. The Middle East has oil, China has rare earths. This wasn't just an observation, it was a declaration of intent. The transformation of China's rare earth dominance reads like an economic thriller. In the 1960s and 1970s, the United States led global production through the Mountain Pass mine in California's Mojave Desert, extracting bastnasite ore. Between 1965 and 1995, this single facility supplied most of the world's rare earth consumption. China was quietly building its own capacity, though, developing the massive Bayan Obo deposit in Inner Mongolia, and by 1988, Chinese output had already surpassed American production. What happened next was a masterclass in strategic patience. China didn't just want to mine rare earths, they wanted to control the entire supply chain. While other countries focused on extracting raw materials, China invested heavily in the complex and environmentally hazardous processing required to turn raw ore into usable materials. Chinese plants deployed hundreds of mixer-settler units for solvent extraction processes, allowing continuous separation on an industrial scale. This required massive capital, technical expertise, and crucially, lenient environmental oversight that Western companies couldn't match. The environmental costs were staggering. Chinese authorities largely ignored the consequences of using acid, heat, and pressure to process rare earths. Vast tracts of land, livestock, and water supplies were poisoned. In China's Jiangxi province, where ion adsorption clay deposits are mined for heavy rare earths, satellite images reveal toxic lakes dotting the mountains where rare earth wastewater ponds sit exposed. This environmental sacrifice gave China an unassailable cost advantage. By the late 1990s, Chinese rare earths were flooding global markets at prices no other producer could match. One by one, mines around the world shut down. In 1998, the Mountain Pass separation plant ceased refined production. China's strategy went beyond simply undercutting competitors, though. They began acquiring foreign technology and expertise. The Magnequench scandal perfectly illustrates China's approach. In 1995, a consortium of Chinese state-owned companies purchased a majority stake in Magnequench, a General Motors subsidiary that pioneered rare earth magnet manufacturing. Remarkably, Deng Xiaoping's son-in-law became the new leader of the company. By September 2001, Magnequench's US production lines had shut down as operations gradually shifted to China. America had essentially handed over its rare earth magnet technology to its future competitor. China's stranglehold tightened year by year. By 2015, they controlled not just 60% of global mining, but an astounding 91% of separation and refining. Today, China produces 94% of the world's NdFeB magnets, the neodymium iron-boron magnets that are the finished products powering our technology. This isn't just about raw materials anymore. It's about controlling the entire technological supply chain. The world got its first taste of this power in 2010. After a Chinese fishing trawler collided with Japanese Coast Guard vessels near the disputed Senkaku Islands, China was accused of unofficially halting rare earth exports to Japan. While China never publicly admitted to the embargo, rare earth prices spiked up to 500% within months. Japanese manufacturers scrambled to find alternative suppliers, but there simply weren't any at scale. The United States, European Union, and Japan filed a World Trade Organization case against China's export restrictions. In 2014, the WTO ruled against China, forcing them to drop their export quotas in 2015. The damage was done, though. The world had learned that China could weaponize rare earths at will. And China had learned something too. They could use their dominance as a geopolitical weapon with devastating effect. The irony is that America once dominated this industry. The Mountain Pass mine, discovered in 1949, had supplied most of the world's rare earths for 3 decades. When Chinese production ramped up and prices collapsed, Molycorp, the mine's operator, filed for bankruptcy in 2015. For years, the United States had no domestic rare earth production whatsoever. Enter MP Materials. In 2017, the company purchased the shuttered Mountain Pass facility for just $20.5 million. That's a fraction of its original value. They restarted operations in 2018, and by 2024, the mine hit a US production record with over 45,000 metric tons of rare earth concentrate. Here's the catch, though. MP Materials still ships most of their concentrate to China for processing. America mines rare earths again, but China still controls the crucial refining stage. The Department of Defense finally woke up to the threat. In July 2025, they announced a deal making them the largest shareholder in MP Materials, with a multi-billion-dollar investment package. Apple followed with a $500 million investment. The goal is to build domestic processing capabilities and reduce dependence on Chinese supply chains. Companies like Phoenix Tailings are also emerging as potential game changers in domestic processing. The timeline is sobering, though. Experts estimate it will take 10 to 15 years to build truly independent rare earth supply chains. Other countries are racing to catch up. Australia's Lynas Rare Earths achieved a breakthrough in May 2025, becoming the first producer outside China to commercially manufacture dysprosium. That's one of the most critical, heavy, rare earths. Australia plans to triple its rare earth oxide supply between 2025 and 2027, targeting 20 to 25% of global production by 2030. Even these ambitious plans pale compared to China's massive head start. Then came 2025's export controls. In April, China imposed restrictions on 7 heavy rare earth elements. By October, they announced the most comprehensive controls yet, covering virtually the entire rare earth supply chain. The impact was immediate and severe. Chinese rare earth magnet exports fell by 74% year-over-year in May. US shipments plummeted by 93%. European car manufacturers faced production shutdowns. China's own actions may be accelerating their loss of control, though. The price explosions and supply disruptions of 2025 created the ultimate wake-up call for governments and corporations worldwide. Phoenix Tailings CEO Nick Myers captured the moment perfectly. "This is our Sputnik moment where the US finally woke up and saw that someone else is just killing us in this race." After a meeting between President Trump and Chinese leader Xi Jinping in October 2025, China agreed to suspend their planned expansion of export controls for 1 year as part of a broader trade deal. The fundamental dynamics haven't changed, though. China still processes 80% of global rare earths and manufactures 94% of rare earth magnets. The race is now on. Can the United States, Australia, and other Western nations build independent supply chains fast enough to break China's stranglehold? Or will China's 3-decade head start prove insurmountable? The outcome will determine not just who controls these critical materials, but who controls the future of technology itself. The next decade will reveal whether Deng Xiaoping's prescient comparison between Middle Eastern oil and Chinese rare earths will define the 21st century. Or whether the world can engineer its way to independence from this new form of resource diplomacy.